Hey, how you all doing? All right, so some of you have been up trading this gap to the downside, based basically off the back of a downgrade we had on Friday. I was away, wasn't here for that, but let's see what happened tonight. Now, what I want to kind of just bring to your attention is basically we've only had a couple of downgrades in the history of the USA, so it's hard to look at a large sample and say, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen. But it's a pretty big event, and it's probably worth having a look at how things unfolded in the other times that the US got downgraded. Now, I brought up 2011 and 2023. I'm going with 2023 just because I just think the environment that we're in kind of suits that narrative a little bit better. And I don't have time to go through both of them, but you're welcome to go and have a look at both 2023 and 2000. And 2011. So we're going to have a look at 2023, see what happened on the downgrade, what happened on the reopen, what happened on the open, and based on all the prep that we did over the weekend, and there's a video out from last week, then we're going to try and make some calls for things and scenarios that we want to look out for. So you should have seen the video from the weekend. The big area that I'm kind of looking at is the prior week's POC, 5907, something like that. And also I'd like to see a test down into the prior week's value area low, which kind of coincides a little bit with the 200-day moving average. So those are the things that we've got on our mind as scenarios. Those are the areas that I want to pick out for scenarios, and those scenarios have been plastered out onto my weekend prep, so you can have a look at those. But I want to bring attention to this little chart here. This is just a chart of the 2023 downgrade. This is the downgrade off the close. There's the gap. Looks familiar? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks a bit like today's price action overnight. So we've got a gap, initial spike lower, opened well below the prior session's low, and what we saw was the steep climb back up as initial shorts got trapped. We kind of lift into the prior session's IB low, and then we see this steady decline, which we kind of saw today. Pretty much an identical scenario. Let me just bring out today's chart so we can have a look at it. I also annotated it, so let me put it out on X. So give me a second. Where is it? So I want you to kind of pause this picture if you get a chance, and then I'm just going to bring out today's action, okay? I'm going to maybe try to put them side by side, but just I want you to kind of focus on this sharp gap, open, everyone gets excited, only short, there's not enough continuation to downside, we start getting squeezed, and then basically we get the move from the prior session's lows, and then that gives us the nice move into the close, which then kind of recovers a little bit into the close and holds POC. That's pretty much where we are right now. Let's have a look at today's session, okay? Right. There's your open, there's your sharp drop, there's your squeeze. Pulls a bit a little deeper than 2023. We only briefly take out the price session's lows on the initial spike lower, but then we pull back, and we pull back to the IB high. So it's a key reference. That's the kind of gist of what I'm trying to point out here. Also, if you have a look at your fibs and all those fancy little things, this pullback here coincides with an exact from settlement to low 50% pullback. Very nice. And then we saw this kind of continuation lower overnight, and we've finally started to hold Friday's low. There it is. There's that little pull back, attempt to take Friday's low, attempt to trade back inside, and then we kind of drop down. And now we're doing that kind of second part, which is now we're pulling back, bit of bit of covering into the open. So hopefully you can have a look at that and you can see some of the similarities. I'm going to kind of try and push this out onto one side, and you can just about see what it looks like. This is that move down into the lows, and now we're doing that recovery process, which we're just now hovering at full session VWAP. Okay, so we're in this stage now. So into the open, we see it. This is now going back to 2023. Into the open, we start to see sellers come back in again, and this is what we're going to concentrate now for this session. We're going to concentrate on the open. What happens on the open? What can we expect? What are the scenarios we're expecting? Well, in this case, we see basically an initial very aggressive move lower, comes to get retested, but does not take that pre-open swing high there, that little tiny little where the IB high got set there. You can see that that high does not let in. So the seller that's come in here is basically not letting up, and that pre-open swing high holds, and then we just continue down lower. So I'm going to be looking for something similar going into this session. So I'm looking for this to push back up into an area where it makes sense that people start unloading again. So in this case, it's the VWAP and the POC, and now we're currently trading now into VWAP. We're here now. We're roughly in the middle of where my arrow is now showing, and hopefully you can see that clearly if you're watching this. So the trade I'll be looking for is I would not want to see it aggressively push back against any of the selling that we see into the open. I think the selling will come into the open, come back in again as we hold below yesterday's lows. We're now currently trading 59.15, 59.16s, yesterday's low, Friday's lows around about 25s. So I want to see that area hold, and I'm going to be looking for basically indications off the open that sellers are in this, and I'm going to try and go with them. Okay, pretty simple. Sounds easy, I guess, but it's not, because you want to make sure that you're not chasing lows. You want to try and be patient, but you want to make sure that you're tight. I've got a clear idea about what I'm looking for, and I know where my stops are going to be. It's going to be probably the pre-open swing high or some kind of really key. It hasn't yet happened, right? So I can't really talk about what's not happened yet. There's going to be a reference up there just before the open that I'm going to look at and go, right, that's that little high. I'm going to look at it. Or there's an MGI, for example, the POC, or I haven't yet decided that. Okay, it's too early to tell. We've still got an hour and a half into the open, but I'm going to look for a very, very close reference that will show me that there are no buyers in here. Buyers cannot overcome the selling that is basically taking hold of this market, and I'll be looking for the move lower. Okay, and the areas that I'll be looking to test are basically going to coincide with my weekend prep. So we're going to be looking at things like looking to test into the 200-day moving average and prior week's value area low, around 58.75, that kind of that area. That's kind of my initial target. So it's not super high, but it could be 30-40 points in it, and really that's all I'm going to be looking for. And then I'll see how it goes, and I'll probably, if I see continuation, really strong selling action, I'm going to try to keep going with it. Now, if we don't see that, if we see a big reversal, where do I think the sellers are going to be in trouble? Well, I think if we start, look, I'm just going to bump this up now. We're going to just concentrate on what's happening today. I think if we start pushing back into Friday's lows, I think that's a sign of weakness. If we definitely take out, if we start trading above overnight POC, then I really think the sellers are going to be in trouble. But that's kind of like the final straw. And I've drawn this little red ribbon here, which is between 25 and 32. This little red ribbon here, it's kind of this is where I think sellers have to step in, okay? It's inside this nice little block here that we developed, overnight POC, and it's in Friday's tail low, okay? The Friday tail low. If we start pushing back up into that tail low, start trading back inside Friday's value, this is over for me. I won't be interested in it anymore. Okay, so that's kind of the most basic, these are the most basic things that I'm going to be looking for. Sounds easy. I'm pretty sure it's not. Won't be easy, but that's my plan. But the fact is I've had a look at the prior sessions, the prior downgrades and what happened in those sessions. I had a look at 2011, but I think this one's most similar, 2023. I've had a look at them, and this is basically this is my plan. This is my scenario analysis based on the similarities between 2023 and 2025. Okay, today's session. Right, that's pretty much all I wanted to do. Hopefully that helps. Just shows you into the thinking, or my thinking. I'm not alone in the way I'm doing this. This is how we do it on the floor. All right, maybe with a few more stats thrown in, but they're not that important. Okay. Good luck with today. I apologise for only seeing my eyes in this video. My camera's cocked up, but I'm not very good at this streaming stuff, and I apologise for that. All right, we're off. See you later, guys. Good luck with today.